G'day guys and welcome to my new video. Today we're going to run through a quick guide on all consumables for the different casters, just to get you familiar with what to run when you start entering those 10-mans and those raids, just to get you out of that classic mindset and start thinking forward into TBC. So we'll break it down into what's most optimal for damage output, but I'll also throw in some alternatives that you can use if you're a little bit low on gold or only running a 5-man. We'll just run through some alternative consumables that you might want to pop. It's definitely worth noting though that these alternatives are a significant DPS loss, and if you're running with the alternative options in a 25-man raid, it might be a little bit frowned upon and you definitely won't be doing the damage that you'll need to be doing. Today we're just covering casters, so we're doing Shadow Priests, we're doing Boomkins, we're doing Ellies, we're doing Mages, but I'll be covering all the physical damage dealers, so your melee, but also your hunters, healers, and tanks in upcoming videos. So without further delay, let's get into it. So first off, we have our shadow damage dealers, so our Shadow Priests and our Warlocks. The Flask Warlocks and Shadow Priests will want to use as the Flask of Pure Death. It provides 80 plus shadow and fire damage. Generally speaking, flasks provide a better increase in DPS, but they'll obviously cost a tad bit more than using some of those alternative elixirs. For your elixir, you'll use the Destruction Potion, which increases spell crit chance by 2% and spell damage by 120 for 15 seconds. The key to this is combining it with those big unused trinkets, racials, bloodlust, drums. This is the real key to a really nice optimized burn phase and to getting those big pumper numbers. When you look at the Destruction Potion, it's absolutely insane and OP. 120 spell damage for 15 seconds. It's massive. I mean, it's like popping 1.5 flasks of Pure Death. So definitely pick up those if you can. Who knows what the prices are going to be like for those, but I imagine quite large. For weapon oils, you have a choice between Brilliant Wizard Oil, which is 36 damage and 14 crit, or Superior Wizard Oil, which is 42 spell damage. I recommend that if you have the money, spend a little bit extra to get the Brilliant Oil. You should all be pretty familiar with this one. It's obviously a classic recipe, so pick it up now if you can. Start farming those large Brilliant Shards. If you're an Affliction Lock or a Shadow Priest, you don't particularly need the crit as far as I know, so you're better off going with the Superior Wizard Oil, which, lucky for you, is the cheaper option. For food buffs, plus 23 spell damage foods are the way to go. There are a lot of versions of these, Blackened Basilisk, Poached Bluefish, or Crunchy Serpent. I'm going to hedge my bets and say that the Poached Bluefish is probably going to be the cheaper option. Let's not beat around the bush. There's going to be fishing bots more than likely, fishing up heaps of these poached bluefish. So I'd imagine those will be the cheapest option on the auction house. If you're running 5-mans, maybe you just want to rock something a little bit cheaper. So the alternative options for you are Adept Elixir and Major Shadow Power for your Battle Elixir. Generally speaking, Guardian Elixirs blow in all scenarios, so the only option that's even worth considering would be an Elixir of Dranic Wisdom. As you can see from the options available, you're 100% better off flasking in all situations if your goal is to do as much damage as possible. So not only is it an increase in stats and DPS, but obviously it persists through death. Obviously with new content, you're going to be wiping a lot. This is a relatively undiscovered game to classic in a lot of respects. So you might find that actually it's not only just a DPS increase, but it'll also be cheaper. You might do 10 wipes on mag before you start even getting past the trash. So using only 1 or 2 flasks of Pure Death will definitely be an advantage. Something worth considering, if you're a fire mage running, if you have a fire mage in your raid, I should say, running Fire Destra as a warlock, as far as I know, comes out better in phase 1. This is because you don't really have the crit yet with your gear to benefit from improved Shadow Bolt, and the improved Scorch that the fire mage provides is just a better overall damage increase, but adapters needed. You might have a fire mage, so this might not be relevant, but if you do have a fire mage, consider testing out running fire destro. If you do, you should all probably make the effort to pick up flame cap, and you guys will really start seeing the benefit of collectively optimizing your damage together. If you're running a fire mage, everything stays the same as far as consumables go for best and alternative, but obviously you'll swap out the major shadow power for major firepower. Fire is generally considered the best spec for mages. As far as I know, from phase 1 onwards, you can start considering going arcane once you start getting some tier 5 gear. The set bonus for the two-piece set bonus, is increases damage and mana cost of arcane blast by 20%. But obviously, it's a bit of a give and a take. So this is an extremely mana costly playstyle, and you'll need to be built around yourself. So you'll need more than likely a shadow priest in your group, and if you're greedy enough, you can maybe sneak in an innovate or two from a very friendly druid. But yeah, chat to your raid leader, see if it's an option, fiddle around with it, maybe test it out for one raid and really see how mana hungry it is and how you get during an encounter. Honorable mentions, Skullfish Soup, not available on launch, but comes later in the Zulaman patch. But this is 20 spell crit rating and 20 spirit, so it's another solid option to consider when considering your consumables. I haven't simmed it out, so I don't know what the benefit trade-off is from 23 spell damage or 20 spell crit, plus obviously the 20 spirit. So sim it out, see what your local class Discord says, and choose accordingly. The crit topic kind of segues us nicely into our next session, which is elemental shamans and boomkins. Obviously, you'll use the Flask of Blinding Light, which is nature and arcane damage, destruction potions, and brilliant wizard oil. The spell damage and the crit is amazing for both classes. You can imagine elemental shamans, they're throwing out those big chain lightnings. They want as much crit as possible to really optimize their damage. Alternatives are pretty similar to all other casters, which is Adept's Elixir, haste potions if you didn't want to go down the destruction potion route, and obviously Dranic Wisdom is really the only option. I obviously haven't mentioned it too much throughout this video because I feel like it kind of goes without saying at this stage, but weaving in Drums of Battle as frequently as you can, weaving that in with your destruction potions, racials, etc. Keeping in mind the debuff that's now party-wide, and will also be dependent on how many leather workers you have. So that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys learned something about the new consumables that will become available in TBC. If you aren't already, please consider subscribing, and if you liked the video, definitely drop a like for me. If you have any questions, be sure to let me know down below as well. See you later.